Testing 1, 2, 3. Who's your daddy?
God damn it.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! Take the truth! I'll set you free!
Okay.
Hey, Jason, you got me?
All right. Yeah, we're all ready. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another podcast, another episode of Face the Truth. It's been a while. Your boy's been busy. I've been crazy busy. And we have a 3-year-old that's still potty training. So it's been a time. So I only brought that up because I can hear in the background right now saying, "Mommy, I gotta go potty." Anyways, you guys, I'm so excited to be back to doing the podcast. I have a special treat for you. This guy is a great illustrator from across the pond. That was terrible, so offensive. Sorry, but this guy is he's brilliant. It's such an amazing illustrator, and what I love about his work is it's something that I strive to. I have a challenge with. So we're going to get into that. Is just the way he can compose scenes, and I love how every little thing in his illustration has like life, like the homes, the houses, the buildings, the cars, all the different things he does all have like this character and this life that I'm just like, damn, that's awesome. And also the guy is so prolific. He's pumping out so much stuff. It's crazy. He's very busy, and super inspiring. So I hope you guys enjoy this talk. We're gonna have a good time. Everyone, please welcome Howard McWilliam.
Hi, Jason.
Thank you so much for joining me for this, man.
Thank you. It's good to speak to you. And I've been wondering for a long time if there are 3 Jason Silers, the amount of stuff that you do. I mean, your podcasting, the comedy, all the covers and illustrations you do. I mean, it's amazing. There's not two of you out the back or anything.
No, I wish,
Yeah.
man. No, that would be nice, but I appreciate that. Thanks, man. Yeah, and likewise, it's funny. So just a little setup for everybody. I've been doing illustration. I can't even believe this, for well over 20 years now. And when I first started, I was really into, like I was following everybody like CF Payne, Roberto Prada, all these different artists, and trying to figure out like why they're being published in this, how are they doing this? And I was trying, so I'd try to submit to this publication or that and whatever. And one of them was, 2 of them that I started collecting was the Weekly Standard and the Week, because they were the 2 publications that every week it was caricature covers. And I was like, I want to be in with those people. And I was very naive to politics. I didn't care about politics. I didn't think about it. And so I had no idea that what the Weekly Standard was considered a right wing, and that the Week was more left wing or whatever it was. I had no idea. All I knew is they're awesome covers by these awesome artists. And so I had been following the Week for a long time, and I 2 different times I tried out to get covers for them, to be a cover artist for them. Once was like in 2006. And I did a George Bush cover that I thought was really good, and they said, "Sorry, thank you so much, but we're not at this time." And then the last one was 2015. I did a cover of these guys in Boston, like trying to reach up for a ladder or something, and I thought I did a great job, and they were like, "Sorry, no." So it's been a long time. But like,
I didn't know that. That because the editor told me that he'd been following your work for a while, and he was he was pumped to have you on the cover at last. So
I just think it
was a long road.
Yeah, I just think it was a long, maybe my style wasn't quite what they wanted yet, or I have no idea how. but in the meantime, I had been doing tons of covers for other publications and stuff. So it's really exciting to finally be able to work for them. I enjoy working for them. But one of the things I like about it is that it lets you and I flip flop. Like every other week, you do a cover, the next week I do a cover, and to me, it's like this really awesome, healthy competition because I see what you do, and I'm like, God damn, that's good. And I'm like, okay, I got to step it up.
Yeah, you really keep me on my toes, man. It's good. Yeah. It's good. Like you say, it's healthy.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man. Cause like the one thing, like I said in the intro about your work, that I love is, sometimes like I get caught up in detail a lot. And when the week, we only have like 2 days basically to finish the cover from beginning to end. And, some of them are like a cover that you're just like, oh, this is awesome. This is like I did one with Trump with just his hands with handcuffs. I'm like, easy. And
but you put character into those hands, man. That was really nicely done.
But some people were like, yeah, you nailed his chubby fingers. I'm like, hey, God damn it, those are my fingers. But anyways, within some of the covers, like they give you like so many people or whatever, or it's just a complicated, and you've done covers where I can't believe how many people you're putting in there, but you are able to like, I don't know, you do it in such a beautiful illustrated way where every little element has like character and so every single cover you do, I'm like trying to learn from, what you're doing because it's so good. Like even the one you just posted of a house with people with the weight of the house on their backs, just the way you drew the characters, it's like you can feel that they can feel the weight of that home. And then also the perspective of that building and that's one thing I wanted to ask you is like, I'm terrible at perspective. Like it's, I find it really challenging. And so I have to really, I don't know, that's something that's always been, it's like doing math for me, but wow, you're very good.
If you hide it really well, if that's the case, because your perspective's always spot on. But
I don't know. I don't think so.
I guess there's something about what we do. We kind of, you might agree, we sort of see things three-dimensionally. If we paint the kind of style we do, this kind of realistic style, you have to kind of train your mind to see everything three-dimensionally. And that's one of the challenges that I really enjoy. Often when you've just got to construct things in your mind and just through sketching it out.
For example, the one that you just posted, it was a UK cover, right? For the week.
Yeah. I'm still waiting to post the US one because I have to wait until I need to know what their headline is, before I can post it.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
So for example, that house, what do you do for reference for that? Are you just making it up?
It's kind of half made up, and it's half I'll cobble together maybe 3 or 4 photo references and just mix them together to make a house that doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
I've kind of done that ever since there was someone who saw one of my covers for the US edition of the week once, and they contacted me on Instagram late at night and just threatened to sue me because she said I'd drawn her and her 2 friends on the cover of the week.
Really?
In a not entirely flattering light. And it's like,
for reference, you just found reference online and like,
no, not at all. Because again, with that, I'd made people up from, I'd got like 3 different references for every person and kind of blended them into what I thought was a made up person.
Oh, that's hilarious.
There's only so many faces out there, I guess. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, wow, you draw me and my 2 friends. And, as she said, you need to show me the photo of us that you used. Otherwise, I'm going to take this to court. And she was a lawyer herself. So,
geez.
I'm doing these DMs on Instagram late at night, just their hearts racing, just thinking, what the hell? What's happening?
Jeez.
And so I didn't know how to prove, I didn't have a photo of her and her 2 friends. I often take references from Getty or places like that, and these are models who've signed these forms, and you mix them together, and think you're okay. But ever since then, it's kind of been in my mind, maybe someone's not going to like me drawing their house, or, or something like that, or their face. Yeah. So I tend to often kind of, if I'm doing something that's meant to be symbolic, just made up or whatever, just blend some things together so that it's not.
That is the hard part about when you're doing an illustration, like, like for the week or whatever, where you just have to have random characters, it's, you only have a couple days to do this, and you have to like try to figure out, okay, I need these kind of people. And it's funny because I have found that even if I find pictures of real people, but then I try to change them, they still somehow sort of still look like them a little bit. Like, even though I'm trying to do different things, it's like,
it's hard to get away from, because you're also trained to observe. You know what I mean? You're trying to get down what's in front of you. So it's tricky.
I once did a illustration where they wanted me to paint an angel, but they wanted it to look. We don't want it to be Owen Wilson, but we want it to feel like an Owen Wilson. And I'm like, and so I looked at references of Owen Wilson and I tried to draw this angel, and they're like, it looks way too much like Owen Wilson. I'm like, I don't know how to not like, and I'm like, it's not even his nose anymore. It's not even, there's nothing about his face that no, it still looks like Owen Wilson.
But the trouble is, at the same time, you don't want it to look like a crappy Owen Wilson. Do you know what I mean? Oh, look, this guy's trying to draw Owen Wilson. He can't do it.
Exactly.
That's a rough gig.
Yeah. Those kind of things are, that's something that I don't think a lot of illustrators talk about, but those are like the filler characters that you have to put in, or like, like when I did that one bank cover where I had to do all these people,
Silicon Valley Bank. Yeah.
And I just found as many people as possible, and I found lines of crowds, and I tried to suggest them, but there's some real people I painted in there, because I'm like, I don't have time to like mess. I mean, I tried to change them a little bit, but you can still tell. I mean, if you really, looked at it.
Great job you did on that, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. By the way, how do you feel about because I get a kick out of like doing certain politicians and stuff on the cover, because they're going to see it, it's kind of fun, because like, like when you're painting Trump, he's going to see it. And I love that so much, because like the first 4 years of his presidency, I got to paint him only a handful of times. And every time I was like, please tweet about this. I wanted to, like, because I know he sees it.
He must do, especially someone like Trump, who's really into his own image and everything.
Oh yeah.
He's going to be checking those out, isn't he?
He's interesting. Like, and it's funny. How long have you been doing illustration? Like, when did you start?
I started 2001, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Quit the day job 2005.
All right. That's pretty similar to me, actually. Yeah, because like one of my first, because I was thinking about it. I've been doing Trump on covers since at least 2004. I remember.
Yeah.
I did because I didn't know this, but the New York Observer was owned by, or the editor was what's his name? Trump's son-in-law. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I didn't realize he was the editor of the New York Observer, and I had been doing tons of covers for them. And then when Trump was running, I started coming up with these funny cartoons about him, like just ideas, like doodles, and then I would send them to them, and I would never hear back. And then finally, the art director wrote me and goes, "Hey, Jason, just to let you know, his son-in-law is the one that runs the place, so none of these ideas are going to go." And I'm like,
he's vetoing the hell out of this.
Yeah. And then he sent me a photo. The art director was invited to Trump's one of his golf places. I don't know what you call it, golf clubs or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he showed me, he goes, "You're not going to believe what's hanging in." And he showed me a photo of a cover I did of Trump in 2004 or 5, of Trump sitting on a throne with a pentagram, and Trump's got horns coming out of his head, and he's got hooves for feet, and there's little cupids on the ground, like, oh no. And then I can't remember what the title was, but it was something like, burn in hell or some crazy thing. But Trump has that cover hanging in a gold frame in his golf place? Like,
that's incredible. That's incredible.
Like,
I think you just got to be, you're just made of something different when you're a politician, possibly. Because there's, I mean, a similar things happened to me in the UK. One of our members of parliament, I did a cover on essentially what was his downfall as an MP. This really horrible moment in his career. You know what I mean? And he wanted to buy a print from me. A signed print of this moment that just encapsulated his.
That's got to be so strange, man.
Yeah, I think, and we used to have a program over here called Spitting Image, and it's just caricature puppets.
I love that.
And a lot of politicians would, they'd like to buy their Spitting Image puppet. This sort of like unflattering caricature depiction of themselves, and
it's so funny.
Fun at them all the time on the TV. They're like, yeah, man. This is me. You've made it when you've got a Spitting Image.
Oh man, I remember seeing those when I was a kid, like seeing Ronald Reagan.
Yeah,
and they're so good. They almost look more like them than the actual.
When you imagine the person in your mind, you almost start imagining the Spitting Image. Exactly. So the real person. Yeah, big time.
Now I got a question for you. So being across the pond, as they say,
China.
Yeah. So. Now you do the cover every other week for the US version, but then are you doing the same thing in England? Like every other week you're flipping, like doing their cover, or are you doing 2 covers a week?
I do every cover. I do every cover for the UK except one a month. So I get one a month off. Oh, so I do either 3 or 4 in a row and then get the one off. And then, so I'm normally juggling the 2 covers.
Wow, that's crazy.
On the Monday to Wednesday, which is why, from what we were talking about earlier, when you hear the phrase crowd scene, it chills the blood. You know what I mean? You're like,
I don't know how you do that, man. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. And by watching some of the your recording videos of your process that you've shared, like the one you sent me of Biden catching the football or doing a touchdown.
Right.
So you're working on an iPad. Is that how you do all your work?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Have you always done that, or is that just recent years? And are you using Procreate? Like, what's your?
That's it. I use Procreate on an iPad.
Okay.
I used to do a lot of my work on Photoshop or Coral Paint using a Wacom. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as the iPad Pro came out, I started playing around with it, and I just thought I really like how this feels, and I like being able to take it out, work on the sofa, work in the garden, work in the woods sometimes even.
That's awesome.
I like the portability that it's all in there, and all my work is in there, so I guess it doesn't maybe give me as much functionality as Photoshop, but it's
that's what I was going to ask you, because I enjoy drawing and painting on Procreate on the iPad, but I always find that it slows me down too much.
Right.
And I don't know why. I don't know why it is, but I really enjoy working on it. There's certain things I haven't figured. Like, for example, I watch you do things like you can blur back. I don't know how to do that in Procreate. I'm like, where's the blur option here? There's like certain things like I haven't figured out, like, and it just seems clunkier to me, but it's just, by the way, where is the blur thing? Like, how do you I was watching your video. I'm like, it seems like such a simple thing. It shouldn't be complicated. And I remember I was doing something once and I'm like, I ended up painting everything with an airbrush soft brush because I couldn't figure out how to blur. And it would have been so easy just to do some blocky shapes and then blur it. Right. It would have saved me a lot of time.
there's a whole lot of stuff in the adjustments panel on Procreate. There's some nice stuff in there, but that's an example of how Photoshop has so much more functionality.
Exactly.
In Procreate, you've got a couple of blur modes. You've got motion blur, Gaussian blur, is it?
Is it? Yeah, that's right. Is that a new thing, or has it always been in Procreate? Because I think
they've had it for a while. Yeah.
Must be, because I'm not joking. I spent so much time like, where is, like, I don't understand where this is. It drives me crazy. But I haven't worked on my iPad in a while, so it's I mean I kind of just for me my iPad is more like for sketching. I like to just sketch on it, and sometimes like even for like a cover I'm doing that I'm going to do in Photoshop, it's nice, like you said, to go sit in the living room with the kids and just kind of doodle on that, and then send them to my computer and finish it that way. But it's really cool watching your process, how you like, I started doing this after I saw you doing this. So when you get the cover for the week, they give you this rough idea, and you have a certain amount of space you have to work with, and they have the mailbox at the bottom.
Oh, the subs box, man. That's a ball ache, isn't it?
It's always there. And so you have to work around that. You have to be careful. And you have to know whatever you're doing there, no one's going to see that.
You've still got to fill that space, but it's a waste.
Yeah,
you know
it's a waste. Yeah. And then you have to think about the text. Either it's going to go across or it's going to go like this. And so you have to compose everything thinking about that. And at first I was just composing the illustration separately. But now after watching you, I've seen how you actually have the cover and you just start drawing it into the cover. And I mean, it didn't take me long to figure that out, but like, I think the first cover I didn't do that. And then I saw you post something. I'm like, oh, that makes way more sense.
I find it helps so much. Yeah. And when I used to sketch all the covers on pencil on paper, I remember when I bring it into Photoshop, and it's like, damn it, all this, I've got to move all this stuff around now. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it helps a lot, yeah.
But it does help to see, and it's weird because like what I was doing at first was I would just use the right dimensions, but then somehow it then you, like you said, you have to move everything around and change things because it's just not working right. But when I watch your process videos, it's so cool seeing how you're just putting it all together, and watching how it's building. It's a different way than how I work. So it's just interesting watching that, how it comes together. And it's so cool that you can see on the iPad, like all the changes, the head's getting bigger, smaller, moving, and different things like that.
Well, I'd say if one word comes to mind, I'd say sloppy. I'm sometimes embarrassed when I post my process videos because it's quite a sloppy process because I'm just trying to work fast. Mm-hmm. I've got these 2 covers on the go. I'm trying to get them. You're trying to communicate what you want to do with the cover, and you're trying to do that in as short a time as possible. Do you know what I mean? So you're not looking for the perfect sketch. I mean, I see some people's rough sketches, and I'm just blown away. That's amazing. You've done all that for a rough sketch with me. I'm just trying to communicate something, and it's like, just bear with me. This is going to get better towards the end, but I don't want to waste a ton of work on something that might need to change dramatically. I just want to.
I've done that same thing where I used to put a lot more into the sketches, where now like I should have posted it. I can share it to you later, but like I just did that Arnold piece, and if you see the sketch though, it is really crude. It is like, but like
this isn't the version that I saw, because this was, the face was pretty much done.
Oh no. I haven't shared the sketch. The sketch is really, really thin, simple lines that just block it out. And it doesn't look but it's all I needed. I just needed for the art director to go, yeah, that's the composition. And the only change he made was like, I want the room to look further away. And I'm like, okay. But I used to do that. I used to spend so much time on the sketch. But I don't know how this is with you. I mean, as busy as you are you're doing that many covers for the week, and then you do all other illustration. Like you seem like you're just constantly, but I guess
I do a magazine called Money Week as well, every other week.
Oh, okay.
So normally I'm always doing 2 magazines, Monday to Wednesday, and then the rest of my week is normally children's illustration.
It's crazy, man. I'm glad you were able to take the time to do this. But like, I feel like, I don't know how it is with you, but like, it was when I first started in illustration, it's, most people were still working traditionally. And even when I started switching to digital, which I think was 2006 or so, is when I started just doing mostly digital. Right. People like gave me such a hard time about it, especially like at Society of Illustrators, and it just wasn't accepted. It was like people just didn't think of it as a real drawing or painting. And of course now it's like 90% of everything is digital now. But at first it was like the deadlines were so I found I was so stressed out with the deadlines because I was working mostly in acrylic.
Yeah.
And then when I switched over to digital, I was like, oh, this is great because I can work so much faster, change things. And it just helped me to do, I think, better work quicker because, I mean, the acrylic stuff, it would take way longer. And then you'd have to scan it, color correct it.
Yeah, I remember the crushing feeling of when working in acrylic or watercolor and the editor says, oh, yeah, we need to move this over. Just move this to the middle more. And you know what I mean? It's just, oh man, what am I going to do? But I think we're probably similar in that when we switched over to digital, we really wanted to, speaking for myself, I wanted to reproduce that sort of traditional look, traditional painting within digital. And so it was really important for me from the start to find some, programs and tools that I liked and that would do that and help me.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I was going to say is, and I don't know what exactly kind of brushes and stuff you use in Procreate. I kind of like the ones that have come with it. I haven't like experimented with other people's brushes too often, but your stuff it feels like gouache to me, like a gouache illustration. It's got that kind of look, which is really awesome because sometimes it's hard to tell. Like especially, this is one thing I was going to tell you. This is funny. This gym I go to, just a mile away from me, they have a week subscription. So
nice.
Every time I go to the gym, I'm looking, and it's so weird. I'm like in the gym and all these people are working out and they have no idea that that's my cover there. And every once in a while it's your cover. And I'm like, so I've never seen them in person except for at the gym. So I'll go and I'll pick it up. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like the one that's at the gym right now is the one you did of, what's that? I don't know the guy's name, but it's like the Moses image holding up the stone with the medicine.
Oh, yeah, the lawyer about the abortion stuff. Yeah. I've forgotten his name already. That's bad, isn't it? I have to brush up on these people in American politics, and
I don't
come into my
really
head
know.
And then they leave quite quickly.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, how is it with like? So I tend to find that. Like I'm just trying to be an illustrator. I'm trying to do the best work that I can do, and I'm trying to feed my family and pay my mortgage. And I, quite frankly, don't give a damn about the politics. Like I'm not a fan of my government or politicians, and so I don't have a problem poking fun at either party or, and if there's something that I just simply I can't agree with it, I won't do, sir. But that I can only think of maybe one or two times that has happened. But does this happen to you where like, do you get lots of messages from people like, you're bollocks, you're this and that, like, how could you draw this guy? Or,
oh man, yeah, I've been called an arsehole quite a few times. The Trump covers especially, they woodwork, and just start insulting you, swear words flying around and everything. And
okay,
I didn't ask for this, and
I'm glad I've got a brother in arms here because
man.
I'm telling you, every week it's like, come on, I'm just trying to do my job. Like,
well, the week especially is one thing I love about it. It's trying to be as impartial as it can. So like you say, it kind of fits with my sensibilities in that it's happy to poke fun at either party. Mm-hmm. If either party's done something silly, you can poke gentle fun at them, and and it's okay. And sometimes without bringing politics into it, sometimes one party's a bit more silly than the other, shall we say, and leave it there. You know what I mean? But and it's true, and it's the same in my country as well. The week's happy. I think neither of our governments have been sort of showering themselves in glory in the last, in the last decade. Say, you know what I mean? It's there's plenty to poke fun at.
And what I try to explain to people is like, listen, you got to look at it from a different point of view. You're looking at this and thinking, oh, you're a woke son of a bitch that, I'll get like these weird, I'm like, no, actually I'm not. And I try to explain to people that look at it as someone who's trying to capture a moment in history. So instead of taking a photo, I'm creating an image that's telling a story, but it's really what's going on in the world right now. I'm not choosing a side. I'm just trying to illustrate something and and make some money, make a living doing, but it is incredible. Because I've got a lot of friends in the illustration industry, or like that, that work for Pixar or different things like that. And we get together and do these drawing jams and different things for schoolism, and
right.
And none of them have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they always bring it up. So what's it like people hating you every week? I'm like, I mean, I've gotten threats before. I don't know if that's happened to you before, but like, this says we're running out of time, but we can stop it and start again in just a minute. But have you ever dealt with that? Someone being so upset, like about a cover that they send you a random package?
Oh man, I hope that hasn't happened to you.
That has, yeah.
Has you really?
Yeah,
that's terrifying, man.
A long time ago. Yeah, that's why I was curious, because I did a cover for the Weekly Standard of the president of Iran, and he's going like this, and there's a shadow of a missile over him. So you're looking down at him, and I think
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, and he's painting "Death to Israel" on a missile, and there's a shadow of another missile, and it's just a very clear message that you're threatening to send. What do you think is going to happen to you if you shoot a missile?
Yeah. You didn't get a package from Iran, did you?
I did, yeah.
Really?
And but it's a very funny story, because I wouldn't have cared or thought anything of it, except for the fact that I did get a lot of messages like, curse you and your curses to your family and different things like that. And I was just like, okay, this is whatever. But then I got the package, and that freaked me out. So what I did was, I believe the FBI, I think it was the FBI in Chicago, came and got it. I called the police, but I think the FBI came and took it. And I didn't know what was in it or anything like that.
They didn't tell you whether it was a nail bomb or dog shit or what,
Well, they didn't get back to me for a while. And then finally, I ended up like hearing back, and they said, oh, it was just a bag of mixed nuts.
What?
So it was just like and I was like, oh, now I'm thinking, well, they're probably poisoned or something, like who knows?
Right.
And then one time I was on some other podcast or a live feed talking about this, and this woman from Iran got on and started talking. She goes, no, that's actually a symbol of friendship and peace.
Really?
So someone probably saw that I was being threatened or something and sent that to me as like a gift, but they didn't send a note or anything.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's amazing. So the FBI destroyed those nuts in a controlled explosion. That's where that gesture of friendship went. Yeah.
I just imagine some guy sitting like in his car in patrol, just eating them. Just like, wow, this is pretty good.
Wow, that's spooky though, to receive a package like that from. I mean, that's.
I was worried, just because and this was like in 2000, maybe 10 or 11 or something like that. That's exactly when it was. I remember now, because I also did a cover that week of Trump, ironically enough, for the Utne Reader. So I remember those two covers I did in the same week. And so I think things were just a little bit more intense then too, because that was during the whole Gaddafi thing and all that.
Yeah,
I think that was
in Iran, they're Revolutionary Guard. They don't mess around, those guys. I mean, it sometimes crosses my mind doing Putin covers as well, because they don't like criticism of Putin, do they? I mean, in our country especially, we've had their agents come over and poison people here in the UK. It's
and people just randomly fall down elevator shafts.
Out of hospital windows, those little accidents.
It is interesting, in this line of work, that like for me, I never got into this ever even thinking about this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But then, it occurred to me maybe well over 10 years ago that, wow, like, when you start doing these covers for like the Weekly Standard, at the time I was doing a lot of covers for them. You start like, I can't even tell you how many Obamas I've done. And I started to realize, oh, he's probably seeing these. And that was such an awesome that changed my mind, because once I realized, oh my gosh, these covers are being delivered to the White House, and like these people are sitting. So once I realized that, I'm like, I just it kind of upgraded me, and you know what I mean? Like I started pushing myself even more. Like I want Obama to, and I don't have anything against Obama, but I still wanted him to look at it and go, God damn it, Michelle. You see what Seiler did again?
It's a kick, isn't it? Absolutely.
It's just kind of a fun, it's just a little bit different than, but anyways.
I remember a while back, The Week did this publicity thing they published, and it had all these quotes from famous people who read The Week, and I remember getting a real kick out of that, thinking, wow, these guys from Hollywood, they've seen their work, they've seen the covers.
It is pretty cool, exciting. Man. I still can't believe, back to like I can't believe that you're doing 2 covers a week, basically, for like with group shots and everything. And a couple of them that you did for New Year's where there was
the faces of the year.
It was so many characters. Now, did you have the same amount of time to do that, or did he give you more time? Really?
I have to demand. No, I have to demand more time for those. Otherwise, I.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, that's like. Yeah. I saw that at New Year's, and I was like, "Wow, how did he do that?" Because.
Yeah, they take me four times as long as a normal cover. Because as well as all the faces, you've got, as you know from the layout of the cover and the space that you have and the subs box, it's a real kind of like doing a jigsaw, trying to get that many faces in and keep it as big as possible and keep the perspective right and the composition and everything. It's just planning those covers.
Do you, when you're doing that, like what I've often done is like I like, let's say I've got 5 caricatures or whatever on a cover. I really, really enjoy and try to push the expression, and I want their faces to tell a lot of the story. Like I really love pushing expression. And so when they tell me what the idea is, I try to think about what every person would be doing with their face. Right. And then, so my first, priority is I want to try to capture and nail the likenesses. And then what I try to do is I try to move their heads around, like where I think the heads are going to look good. And then I try to compose their bodies to fit. But sometimes I see you and you're doing all of it at once, and which I think is amazing.
Sloppy again, as I say, sloppy.
but I see you doing it where, like, I mean, there's times where I've done that where I'll just draw the whole character at one time, which I think is a really good way to do it, because you're working right away with the composition. But sometimes I like try to figure out where, the heads in certain spots, I think have a certain flow. And then if I can like create the bodies to fit, to work with that. But it's just, I just find it interesting that you do the same kind of work with me, but you have almost you have a different way sometimes, but there's similarities as well. But do you sometimes do that where you kind of just place heads around, or just like one might have more priority than the other, or and I agree that what you're trying to do is tell a story, and the expression and the body language is so important, and that's why it's sometimes frustrating when you want the eye to be led around an image in a certain way, but damn it, that cover line's in the way. I can't do what I want over here. Do you know what I mean? Exactly.
So it's often, you're making those trade-offs, and I guess it kind of leads to creativity in a way, which is good. But sometimes it's really frustrating, when you want to use that bit of the canvas and you can't. But,
here, hold that thought. This is going to end.
Yeah.
Let me end this, and it'll render, and then I'll call you back in a couple minutes if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Talk to you in a few.
Awesome. All right. Cool. Thank you. All right, we're back. So I remember where we left off, talking about the composition, how it can, it can be a real challenge to try to do things. But then what I was thinking about when you were talking about that is how I've also noticed, though, that it, knowing that there's the mail box at the bottom and you have to think about the text, it also, I think, has forced me personally to try to be more creative, or it makes me maybe think of a different way that I might have not thought about how to compose something, because I have to keep those things in mind. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, problem solving. Yeah,
exactly.
It's kind of good. It's good for the creativity, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. In one way, it's like, oh, this is, like it's funny because they'll send me a copy of it when I'm done without the box, and it looks nicer that way. But then when you see it, like even at the gym, I was telling you how the week is at the gym on the rack, whoever works there cuts that box out because they don't want the person's address. So every cover, there's like that section just cut off the magazine. It's like, oh,
butchered.
I painted that part.
What are you doing?
It's like, yeah. But that's another thing about one of the things I like about doing the covers for the week is that it's been a while, I feel like, where I've felt challenged. And I think doing these covers for the week challenges me and I really enjoy that. And I think I can tell since I've started working with them, since I think I started in August or September or something like that. I don't remember exactly when that was, but I feel like since then, like I almost feel like more inspired, and that I've grown as an artist just from doing these covers.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Because I mean, every job has its challenges, but when you do a cover for them, it feels like a marathon.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's like, and so it's, and the other thing I like too is, I've gotten to do, I love doing the caricature covers. That's my favorite. I love doing that. But I've gotten to do a few like more conceptual pieces that I'm like, wow, that's like the one with the teenage girl crying or her head down.
That was
or like,
great. Yeah.
Or even there's that one with the digital AI brain with the hand. It's like,
right.
Like that's a cool piece that I never would have done. And I had to kind of, you know what I mean? Like, and I've seen you've done a lot of stuff like that as well. And so I enjoy that part of the job too. It's just that, it kind of puts me out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah. I like that variety of ground that the week covers with their covers, so to speak. It's you get to do so much different stuff and stuff that, like you say, you've never just set out yourself to do a painting of some hands and some handcuffs, but you've got this project and you just make it as fantastic as you can.
Yeah.
You can get a real kick out of it,
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Now, here's the other thing I wanted to make sure to talk about with you is, you not only do you do, the editorial stuff, but you do a lot of children's book work, which is something that I've always wanted to get into. But the work that you do is, again, you've got such a great, I guess it's a storytelling ability that I see in your work. Like, so I'm curious, for example, I saw a video, and we're going to do the thing for the Patreon, the video of, which I just loved watching, with you did like a neighborhood with a bunch of houses, and then and it just looks amazing. I loved all the character and all the homes. And then all of a sudden you start adding fire truck and this thing, and then the snow, and then all of a sudden all these characters, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Norman Rockwell on acid. What is happening here?
I love that description. I'm taking that to the bank. Yeah.
But that was it, like, was that for a children's book, that illustration?
That's right. Well, it's a big one. It's a big deal for me because it's my first children's book that I've written myself.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And illustrated, and it's coming out in September.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, I recently just got my copy. So it's this thing here.
Oh, wow.
Already.
That's great.
So it's exciting for me because I've done quite a lot of books for other people, but to tell your own story exactly the way you want to tell it.
That's so awesome, man.
Special. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, so how does the process work with that? Like, what are you like? I mean, obviously you wrote that one, but when you're working on a process, like a book like this with a publisher, what are the first steps that you take? And like, I guess what I'm asking is it similar to editorial type work, or is the process a completely different process from when you start sketching to final?
I suppose so. I mean, a lot of things are similar in the way you're going to design a composition, send them things to try and communicate what you want to do. But it varies between the publishers of how much freedom you get to say, I want this on this page and I want this on that page. Sometimes they'll say this text is going on this spread. Arrange it however you like, but we want to keep this. Other times you'll just get a manuscript, just all the words. You got 32 pages. Stick those words in those pages however you like. Make it work.
They want you to do it, stick the words.
Yeah, and I kind of love that, because then you're in charge of the pacing and the if you want, let's say I want this spread for 10 words. There we go. I'm gonna do that or whatever.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay,
that can be really fun in terms of the storytelling.
Yeah, I mean it's so cool because I mean, obviously this is an obvious statement, but it is like you are in a way creating a film, like a movie, like it's because you're in control of everything. That sounds so much fun to be able to do that.
I often liken what we do on the week, say the editors are they're the script writers. They're telling you what they want, but we are the director. We're staging it, we're lighting it, we're doing the acting. You know what I mean? We're working with their script.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's similar with children's books, except that they give you the words, and it's up to you to how you want to communicate them.
And for your approach on the illustration side of it, what is like how do you start something like that, like a children? Let's just say you start a first page. Like, are you out there gathering as much reference? Are you shooting photos yourself to get some reference? Or is a lot of it just from your head at first, and then you try to find reference later? Because a lot of people don't know about reference, because there's some artists that I've known in the past who don't use reference. They think that everything has to come from their head. And I'm like, that's insane to me. Like, I need to look at things, it helps a lot. A lot of it is made up, but you need something to base, things off of.
Exactly. And especially, I guess it depends on the style you use. And my style, I mean, I sometimes feel I'm shooting myself in the foot with the amount of detail and realism I like to capture. If I'm portraying a world, I want it to be a three-dimensional world with consistent lighting and consistent perspective and all this kind of stuff. Those things really matter to me. But sometimes you're giving yourself a lot of work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I have I know a couple artist friends of mine who really good, really talented work, but it annoys me because their style they came up with is simple. Yeah. And it's beautiful. And when I say simple, it's not a negative thing. I'm not saying, they can't do anything more complicated. That's not what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
They came up with this style that they can do very quickly, and it always looks awesome. And they can, and I'm just, it frustrates me because I'm like the Arnold piece I did yesterday. I had 2 days to do that. And right away I knew what I wanted to do with the piece. And my approach to that piece was I watched the documentary, which I really loved. And so I wanted to capture how he looked and felt in that documentary to me. And I wanted especially the background to be very real. I wanted it to feel so real, and make it almost cinematic in a way. That's what I was going for. So I saw that in my head, but that's not something that just you can do quickly. Right. So it's just like I made, like you said, all this extra work for myself. And my wife kept coming and she's like, wow, you're really putting a lot into this one. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know.
I know what you mean.
How not to sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot stop myself. It's like this compulsive behavior. I just go to town on that detail. And I don't know if you remember, you may have seen it on my Instagram. A few months back, The Week accidentally published my color sketch for the
oh my gosh,
magazine. And it was like, that's what appeared on the mag, because they had a server crash. They had to reassemble everything really quick, slam on goes the low resolution color rough. And when I open it, when I saw that, my heart just sank, all that extra work. It's down the tubes. But what made it even worse was that one of my friends contacted me and said, you know what? I actually prefer your color rough to the finished piece. Why don't you try and do more of that style and less detail? And I think he was trying to be nice, He was trying to I think it looks great anyway.
Yeah.
But for me, that was a real backhanded compliment. Just like,
oh yeah. I know what you mean. Exactly. That's
everything you're doing, though, that next 9, 10, 11, 12 hours, waste of time, mate.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Keep it sketchy. Yeah. But I have the same feeling of jealousy when a lot of children's books come into the house to read to our kids, and you open some up and there are some wonderful, really sketchy, bare, minimal styles out there. And you think, wow, if that was my style,
yeah,
so great, I could
just pump them out.
Exactly right. Yeah, but it's not. And I've tried to pare it back in the past for some of the books I've done, and try and be less concerned about lighting and three-dimensionality and stuff like that. And it just creeps back in there. I can't stop myself. So what do you do?
I know exactly. I mean, one thing that I love to do, and again, back to the week, I've done it on some of the covers. I've been more painterly, where like I really want you to see the brushwork, and I love working that way, where you can paint more loose. But even still, I still can't help get some. You get lost in it, and it can. What's funny? We were talking about the whole perspective thing before. That cover I did recently with Trump, when you're looking down in the box, okay?
I love that so much. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite ones, but that I've done. But the perspective on that just killed me, because they want him in this scene inside of a box, but there's no references of that or anything that you have to create that. So, and then also not only do you create it, but you want it to look real. Like the lighting and everything. And so I actually went and bought a box and so I could take photo references to get the lighting how I wanted. But then once I had that, then I had to draw everything. And I remember making these perspective lines. Like, this is, if I'm going to have these boxes in there, they have to look like they're in the right perspective. And I had to draw these long lines that went so far away in other directions. And so my box was like this little, and all these crazy lines, just so I could get these little boxes. And the boxes inside the box took longer than drawing Trump in there.
That's amazing.
You would think it was simple,
Yeah, but for people who notice details, this kind of stuff's important, because as an artist, if someone gets that wrong, you really spot it. Do you know what I mean?
I was starting to panic. I was starting to panic at first, because I'm like, oh no, this is. I think I'm going to mess this one up. And I'm trying to get and I'm everything else looked great, but those boxes look so crappy at first. And I spent so much time trying to get and then even that was the last part that I painted, was those boxes. Cause
really,
so they were all sketched and everything else was finished. And I'm like, okay, I only have a few hours left.
Right. You've got box panic at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I was going to tell you, I had that same thing happen to me that happened to you with the sketch being printed. It was the first cover I ever did, I think, for the Wall Street Journal. And I was so excited to finally get a cover for them. And it was 4 women from HBO shows or something. It was it was something about the strong women of, I don't know if it was like Nurse Jackie, and it was, a couple of these, but it was all these strong women characters. And it was, they contacted me the day before it was due. So I have one day to do the whole thing. And so I spent all day, did the sketch, threw in some color on it, and started blocking in some of their faces, but still real rough. Sent that sketch to them, and they approved it. They're like, okay, this is great, keep going. I worked all through the night, until like, well, maybe 5 a.m. And I finished and I sent it to them and I went to bed. And I was like, I killed myself. And then the crazy thing was, this is back. So I did work on Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. And that day I was to meet my dad. He was an art teacher and he brought a bunch of his students to Milwaukee to watch the movie. And they were all excited because he told them that I was going to be there. And so I went there to meet them. And so 2 crazy things happened. So the Wall Street Journal comes out. I see it in Milwaukee. I just finished it like hours ago, and it's there. And I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, they printed my sketch on the cover, and it did not look good. It was like, because it was so rough and just barely. And I'm like, this looks so bad. And I contacted them right away. I'm like, you guys printed my sketch. And they're like, no, and I'm like, no, look, I sent you this. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. I'm like, I can't even believe I just killed myself. So now I show up in Milwaukee just dead tired. And then we go to the movie to watch the Alice in Wonderland movie. And I was so excited and it was so cool to see and everything. And then we're all sitting through the credits of the film trying to see, and my name's not in the credits.
No, no credit.
So it was a double.
Oh,
well,
no.
it's not. It's just I was they credited the studio that I worked with, and a couple of the main people got credit, and so but I just remember at the time just being like, oh, like. Oh, no. Like, this is a bummer day, man.
Oh God! So when they asked you to work for them again, did you get a kind of like a Pavlov's dog sick feeling in your stomach? I mean, what was it like?
What I experienced in the publications like the Wall Street Journal and stuff, they're like a revolutionary door of art directors, and there's constantly new people that. Like, it's weird. Like you'll develop, for example, the New York Observer, there was a time where I was doing every week or every other week, I was doing a cover, and it was great. And then all of a sudden they get a new art director, and you don't hear from them anymore. And it's like,
absolutely right. Yeah.
It's every
day. I'm sorry, every week for 10 years, I did an illustration for one of the big newspapers over here, the Daily Telegraph.
Yeah.
And one week I was literally, I'd done a sketch. I was halfway through the image, and then I spoke to one of the journalists there, and he said, "Oh, hang on, are you still working on that? Have you not spoken to the new art director? You might want to have a word." So I contacted him, and it was literally like, "Put your pencils down, mate. We don't need you. We don't need you." The new broom comes in and just sweeps everything out, and that's it. I never worked for them again. 10 years every week.
Yeah.
You don't have a contract as such. You're just
the
new guy comes in and puts their stamp on it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's the thing is, it's like, that's why like I always, it's a weird illustration is definitely not what it was. Even when I started, people were saying it's not what it used to be. And I feel like I missed the golden age, obviously. I remember like when I first started, like, CF Payne and some of those guys were just everywhere. Like every publication, you could go to like a bookstore and you just see all this work everywhere. And now it's just like, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Like, am I, should I still be doing this? It's crazy. Cause and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, you might just get a ton of work, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But,
I know what you mean. I remember reading what magazine illustrators were making in the 60s and 70s, and it's just eye popping. Do you know what I mean? The kind of money that was sloshing around, and it's not like that anymore.
Oh no. It's crazy. Like I'm not going to say who, I'll tell you later off, but a few years back, I'd say maybe 10 years ago or so, I had done a cover for a very big magazine. And, not as big as Time, but they were pretty big. And I was very proud of the work. And I took, and I think they only paid $1,800 for the cover. And but for me, I was like, that's great. And now I can pay the bills and whatever else.
Yeah.
I was very proud of it. And then a very prolific illustrator wrote me a very backhanded compliment type thing message, basically saying, I saw the cover that you did. Just so you know, that cover was offered to me first, and I turned it down because I haven't taken a cover on for less than $5,000 since 1985.
Wow.
And
lucky them.
Yeah, and then they said, and you're an A-list artist. But you're taking on work, and when you took on this job, you're destroying the entire industry for the rest of us. And he just like said all these things to me. I'm like
you've gone through a picket line or something. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it, because I was just like,
wow,
dude, like I'm just trying to like make a living doing this. And like, yeah, I would have loved more than $1,800, especially for how much time I put into it and everything. But that's what they offered me. And
if that guy doesn't get out of bed for less than $5,000 a pop, he must not have been working since then. Do you know what I mean?
That's what it seems like. No, but this guy's very prolific. He's all over the place.
Right. Wow.
But I was kind of like, for me, I also get his point in a way, right? Because there are a lot of things that I've been offered in the last year that I turned down because I'm like, but it's like, I'm talking embarrassing rates.
Right.
Like people want me to do a full on cover for like $200. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Right. No, I can't do that. And then they'd give it to some hungry art student and whatever. Yeah. But I can't justify that. So I get what he's saying, but like,
yeah, sure.
I also look at that when you get a cover, even if it's not super high profile, but this one was a pretty high profile magazine. I also look at it as advertisement. It's also like a billboard.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I'm only getting a certain amount of money, but a lot of people are seeing this, including art directors and editors. And so I'm going to do my best job because I want them to see that and go, damn, we got to get this guy for our magazine or whatever it is.
Yeah. I'm getting something out of this beyond the fee. Definitely.
Exactly. That's how I would approach it. But yeah, that kind of a thing is shocking to me.
It is a worrying thought, those hungry guys coming out of art school nipping at your heels, it's because there's only so much work to go around, so and the industry has shrunk down a lot. I mean, it's a shame the Weekly Standard isn't around because regardless of their politics, I love those covers.
Yeah,
great ones yourself,
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is they broke down and part of them continued on to the Washington Examiner. So some of the same people that were working for them are the Washington Examiner, and I transferred over and started doing covers for them. I've done a lot of covers for them, and then in the last year or so, that's changed. I've only done a handful because I think what happens is, they only have a certain budget. They don't have they don't have the same budget the Standard had, which was way higher.
Right.
So even when I started working for them, I was like, okay, well, they're paying like half of what it was. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to still give you guys the best work, but maybe we can try to simplify the ideas a little bit. And they were like, oh, that's great. So at first it was mostly white backgrounds with a character or two. And I actually think that's kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
It's kind of like to the point. And I was a big fan of Philip Burke and some of those artists that they always have a white background and they just do this really impressive caricature. And to me, that's a lot of fun because you have an opportunity to really push the character of someone. And that says, sometimes you only need a whole story.
Yeah.
You just need some guy like, and it's like, that's the point we needed.
Yeah, man.
But then what ends up happening is they start having ideas like, well, for some reason we need 15 people on this cover. It's like, no, you don't. You don't
the
need
old
that
mission creep. Yeah.
And then what ends up happening is I start getting out, not doing as many covers because they find someone who can draw like 30 people in 2 days in their style, and I can't do that. I can't justify it. And so now I'm not doing as much for them because like it's crazy. Like you went from more of a simple cover to now every cover is like fully, like even the ones that I've done this year are like so detailed, and you're just like, oh wow, this is, you know, so but you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I want the work. So but like you know, it is crazy. I still can't get over the fact of how many how many of your covers have so many characters, and knowing that what it's like doing it in that amount of time, but then now knowing that you're doing like 2 a week, that's even more. I thought it was like switched every other week for you. So that's intense, man.
I've just got used to working fast, you know. It's kind of about, I work so fast on the iPad now. When I sketch on paper, I do my two finger undo tap.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Paper, you know? It's just embarrassing. But I've really kind of become symbiotic with this iPad, you know. It's just like, gotta get this done, get them a sketch quick, you know.
Yeah.
So but well, speaking of that relationship with technology, I mean, do you worry about AI at all? Because, you know, I know that AI is churning through the work of so many artists. And
I know. I'm frustrated with it. I think that we as people are so self-destructive, we don't even realize it. It's like, I think in a lot of ways, technology is one of those things that's like, you know, in a lot of ways, it's so helpful and it does a lot of good. But at the same time, it does so much harm, whether it's messing up your kids, having too much online things and things that can mess with your children's minds and mental health and all that kind of stuff, to bullying, cyberbullying. But then there's amazing things that happen with technology, like, you know, new inventions with cars and different, whatever it is, you know, even the fact that, like, when I think about this, like years ago, if you wanted to watch a movie, you'd have to go to the video store, and sometimes the movie wasn't there because someone else had it checked out and they only have 5 copies, and now you have to wait and you have to keep coming back to see if you can get the movie, and then it's finally there, and then you have to bring it back on time so someone else can see it. All that's gone. Now we just push a button on our TV and it's there. And so it's convenient, but I feel like we're also losing things in society. And now with AI, it's like, I can see the benefits with creating a movie. How, wow, you can just put a camera on this guy, and then all of a sudden he's like in this other world, and it's amazing, and it looks cinematic, and it's impressive. But at the same time, how many people did you put out of work?
Yeah.
And it's like,
I think the problem is I think we were lulled into a false sense of security, thinking that, the creative people, we're the ones who are going to be safe. It's, you know, AI's, but suddenly we realize, AI is coming for us as well, and we may be some of the first. You know, I mean,
I saw some AI caricatures recently, and it really frustrated me when I saw it, because I'm like, because they weren't terrible. They were better than some artists out there that I know.
Because that's what you're hoping for. I want to see some real shit here, you know.
But I was like, those are actually not that bad. And it's this is frustrating, because
they might have used your work to program that AI. Do you know what I mean? That makes it doubly frustrating. You know what I mean, you don't know what they're feeding it to.
And that's why I've been thinking a lot lately about doing more traditional stuff, and trying to, you know, make some traditional stuff available for people to buy, because I'm a traditional artist that's how I started. And so I've been wanting to do more with watercolor, because I really love painting with watercolor, but because AI can't, I mean, there's nothing that's going to replace an original piece of art, right? But at the same time, it's like, I just would hope that the industry would understand how, you know, how artists are needed, and how, and also just to respect what we do. And it's just like, it's so frustrating to me. Like, I'm seeing these images. I'm sure if you've seen these, where they have this technology now where, and I think Photoshop has this technology. I haven't messed with it at all, but where you can get a photo what's cropped, and that you can just expand it, and the AI just creates a background for it that's flawless. Right. It's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I see Photoshop's got a new feature coming out where it's generative fill or something. So you just you draw a little box and you type in, I want a lighthouse in this box. That's the example they use, and suddenly, bang, it's it's added a lighthouse to your image with presumably the same lighting and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that stuff's scary, because there's going to be a lot of art directors out there with stretch budgets and think, well, we can slam this together with AI or Photoshop, and we don't need to pay an illustrator. So
which is annoying, because the whole thing with illustration is that I hate when people like, well, we'll just use a photograph. And there's nothing against photographers. That's an art form that I respect as well. But like, the cool thing about illustration is even like, for example, the Arnold thing I painted it as real as I could, but I like that because it's interesting, because things are exaggerated but have a really realistic feel to them. And to me, that's a very interesting thing to look at. That's way more interesting than a photograph. And then there's illustrators out there like, James Jean, who I just love his work so much, where he'll do something that's just so beyond, and his imagination is unreal. AI starts taking over. It's just like, what about these brilliant people that, we depend on this. Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, it does worry me, and it frustrates me, because I see it getting so good so fast.
That's the problem, is with all this technology, once the genie's out the bottle, and it just improves so quickly that,
and people, people have accused me, like, you're just, even before all this AI stuff started coming out, people would write me and be like, oh, you're just like doing, like, you're just pushing some buttons on the computer. And it's like, because they're like, how did you get it to the face to stretch that way and stuff? It's like, I drew it. And they're like,
this goes back to what we were saying about starting to work digitally. I think some people just thought you pushed a button that said create artwork. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
No, I'm still drawing it with the same techniques that I always.
Exactly.
It's just on this thing now.
It's very frustrating, because now it's going to be even worse, because people are going to look at something and go, oh, that's just AI. And it's like, I can see how someone, for example, the Arnold piece, I could see how someone could look at that and think, oh, that's just some computer generated whatever. And it's like, no, I spent like 2 full days just working my butt off to create that.
So, and there's so much, there's so much satisfaction to doing it as well. It's and what we do, illustration versus photography. What we're doing is we're creating something that has never existed in the world. And I get a real kick out of that. And doing politicians pulling an expression that you have no photo reference for, say.
Exactly.
You've just got to stretch that in your imagination and use, you've almost got to be like a CGI machine in your head to imagine how the features are going to stretch and how the lighting's still going to, work with it.
By the way, there's only 5 minutes left.
Oh man, we're nearly up again. Okay.
And then we'll do the next one for the Patreon. So I'll have to try to wrap this up in a couple minutes. But I was just curious, when you just brought that up, because I can't tell you how many photos I've taken of myself or my wife.
Oh yeah.
Just like crazy expressions. And that's my favorite thing, is when you get like there's one that comes to mind right away. I did of Obama, where he's going like that. And I did that by doing that and taking photos of myself and literally drawing his face, looking at my face, and the likeness looks exactly like Obama. And I was like so proud of that, because I'm like, I just made that. I had references of Obama from the right angle, but the expression was completely based off my face, but it didn't look like me. It looked like Obama. And I was like, that's what I love about this. Is
exactly. You've done something there that couldn't be done any other way. It's great. No, I'm exactly the same. I've done so much gurning into a camera to get what I need out of politicians. Yeah,
I mean, Could you imagine Rockwell if he knew what, like, if digital cameras and iPhones and stuff were around then? Like, it's like most of the stuff I use for reference now, it's just all my iPhone. Take pictures with my iPhone.
Yeah. And it's instant. It's there, you know. He had to get that film developed. He had to,
He'd have been like, what is happening? But yeah. I mean, technology thing is exciting. But it's scary at the same time. Like, I even know I've seen that there's AI joke generators now. Like, so I work so hard to write material and come up with a funny story or idea or a punchline. And now you can like come up with a weird punchline and put it in an AI generator, and it gives you like tons of jokes that it could go this way or that way. And it's like,
oh, are they any good? I mean,
I looked at it once because I was so curious, and it's mostly just crap. But there are a few I'm like, oh, that one actually is pretty funny.
Sometimes might be surreal enough.
Yeah, and it's like,
catch you off guard enough to make you laugh. Yeah,
and it's just like, but that's annoying. It's like, what? Just stop with this stuff, you know?
Oh God,
but nothing is funnier to me than a comedian just being a comedian, because the reason why I think it's so funny is you're and this is why I don't think AI could really replace comedy, because everyone has their own unique approach. Like me, for example, I have I'm about 4 years into doing it, and so I'm still growing and becoming who I am as a comedian. But like, I've started to realize I have a certain technique that I'm starting to realize I like a pattern and a style and approach that only could come from my demented brain, you know? And that's what other comedians are like. Like, you're not going to get anything from these other comics that you're going to get from someone else. And that's why I think it's still a unique voice. But I feel the same way about art. Like you have such a unique thumbprint in your work, and that's why this whole AI thing is frustrating. You know,
I mean, an AI can't get up and perform it in a comedy club, can it? So, you know, you're safe there at least.
For now, we'll see.
Who knows what's around the corner.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But sex dolls are gonna get really good. Okay, they're gonna.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyways, man, this was so much fun. Getting to talk to you and shoot the shit about this stuff. Your work is so awesome, and it's so much fun. I look forward to every week when it's not my cover. I look forward to, it's like, what is he gonna do? You know, so I'm waiting to see what yours cover is gonna be. So
it's great sharing the week with you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it, man. And thanks so much. And for everyone else, be safe. And we'll see you next time. I don't know why I just did that. Anyways, love everybody. We'll see you soon. All right.